innocent, unarmed citizens slaughtered in their homes, and then people were kidnapped, taken hostage. And so now we have, hundreds of days, 400 plus days of people down somewhere 30 plus feet below in some cave, and their loved ones not knowing, are they alive? Are they dead? So of the 98 hostages, it is believed that a third of them are not alive. That's the word that we have. Thank you, Greg Stocker. I know, we had, and here's the thing, as we celebrated, we had our own celebration here, and I thought, isn't this really amazing that we think about financial success, business success, America coming back with Donald J. Trump and all of the excitement of the inauguration on Monday. And I think about the fact that we were going to be celebrating today, this incredible, incredible day where we thought we could report, that I would be so happy to report to you that we would have a deal done. The hostages are coming home finally. And for those who are not coming home, at least families and communities can have some closure. But now we hear about this delay. So we'll talk about that moving forward and get your thoughts on this, 855-839-1210. I think it's cynical and wrong to assume, and this is, the insensitive legacy media claiming that, Netanyahu is purposely delaying this because he's buddies with Trump. I just refuse to believe that. I think that this shows you how delicate of a negotiation.
Test. This is a statewide required monthly test of the Emergency Alert System, originating from the Pennsylvania Emergency Management Agency, Harrisburg. This is only a test.
Because it comes down to trust. Who do you trust? I mean, just think about how personal this is. Imagine if in your backyard you had terrorists in full tack gear and learned that they had been planning for up to 6 months, maybe more, to attack your loved ones, your family, and the rapes and the murder. I mean, this was a horrible terror attack. So, of course, when they come to the table and they try to say, let's bring forth peace and let's move forward on this, it's all about trust. So it's highly cynical and just wrong to me to say, this is about politics. I mean, yeah, everything's about politics nowadays, but it's about trust. That's what this is. And the victim in this case, and you can talk all day about the history going back to 50 plus years, but this is about what happened October 7th. Let us not mistake that. 855-839-1210.
Incoming National Security Advisor Mike Waltz joined Fox and Friends this morning, offered his thoughts on the pause in the negotiations, if you wanted to hear that, Don.
Yes.
Your thoughts about the pause. What could you tell our audiences behind it?
Well, one of the final pieces in the arrangement is that Prime Minister Netanyahu and his key team, basically have to run this through their government and get the votes for this deal. So there's some last minute kind of maneuvering. There's some last minute shifting. They actually have to prevent names on lists and a specific timeline for when those exchanges will be taking place. So that's what's going on right now. We are still very optimistic. Everybody wants this deal to happen because essentially those people will die. And this deal was stuck just a month ago, until President Trump was elected, until he sent Steve Witkoff over and said, see what we can get. And I want the people of Israel to be very clear and to hear me loud and clear. You're dealing with President Trump, who took out Soleimani, who took out Baghdadi, who fully supports Israel. No one has done more for Israel than President Trump. We will have their back to make sure Hamas never exists as a terrorist state and certainly does not govern Gaza.
And so that statement matters, right? Steve Witkoff at the table matters. Like I say, this is about trust. who do you trust? And so we know the prime minister, the Qatari prime minister, as well as many others, President-elect Donald J. Trump's incoming Middle East envoy, who he had introduced, Steve Witkoff, who, like I say, a wealthy, highly respected gentleman. Trump on the 7th of January saying there's nobody better in this kind of situation than Steve Witkoff. He plays a major role in finally securing this ceasefire deal. And that's what we're hearing, that this is about these hostages, these surviving ones. And, you know, we don't know. We hope to God that 60-some are still alive, but we don't know. But by all accounts, what the insider information is that they cannot hold on much longer. They've been starved. They've been beaten. This has gone on too long. And I just can't even, I just please say a prayer for these hostages. That's really what it's all about. And we'll talk to our upcoming guest about that as well. There's just so much concern and prayer for these hostages just to hang on a little bit longer. Do you have that audio at your fingertips, our great executive producer, Dan Borowski, of Trump talking about Witkoff? It happened during one of his 2 Mar-a-Lago news conferences. It was last week. It was January 7th. And you may recall that all of a sudden Trump is riffing, taking reporters' questions for about an hour. And as those reporters, and they're, you know, just oozing with their bias, that even tried to interrupt him as he was trying to introduce a very important person who Trump knew would be critical to this, right? And so Steve Witkoff, he then brings him up. And as usual, typical Trump, you know, off the cuff, Steve, come on up. He had just walked in with...
Just 1 second. I'm going to give you a little report on the hostages, if I can, Steve. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. Wow. Well, I think we're making a lot of progress. And I don't want to say too much because I think they're doing a really good job back in Doha. I'm leaving tomorrow back to go to Doha. But I think that we've had some really great progress, and I'm really hopeful that by the inaugural, we'll have some good things to announce on behalf of the president. I actually believe that we're working in tandem in a really good way, but it's the president, his reputation, the things that he has said that are driving this negotiation, and so hopefully it'll all work out and we'll save some lives. But I think it's the president, his stature, what he said he expects, the red lines he's put out there, that's driving this negotiation.
Are you confident there'll be a deal before January 20th, or that's what we have? If there's a deal even at all, we've been hearing this now for another part.
I would say...
They better be.
Right. I would say
You
that
heard Trump?
The president
Better be.
is exasperated. I don't want to talk for him, but look, I don't know anyone who delegates better than President Trump.
So in a moment, Dan, I'm gonna give you a little heads up on something, and then I do want to hear from Trump when he said, I just want to remind you of, I know we were playing it yesterday. I know Zeoli was playing this clip, but it's important when Trump said there'll be hell to pay. So before we play that clip for you and just remind you of what's happening here, and you heard Trump under his breath, but he's purposely saying that better be, right? But who is Steve Witkoff? So a wealthy man in his own right, successful businessman, and last week had traveled to some people pronounce it Qatar, some people say Qatar. You've heard different pronunciations, but it's the Qatari. So it's nowadays the hip way to say it's Qatar. It used to be Qatar, but it's the Qatari capital of Doha. Okay, so he joined the Biden administration's team last week, and that's what you heard. Then he came back. He was briefing the president. This news conference happened, and then he went back, and he's been at the negotiation table. This is Steve Witkoff I'm speaking of. And if you noticed him, he attended Sheikh Mohammed's press conference, and that was yesterday. And so this is critical. Steve Witkoff's, Trump's guy playing this critical role, and Trump also highlighting Steve Witkoff's important role in his Truth Social post, saying, with this deal in place, my national security team, through the efforts of Special Envoy to the Middle East, Steve Witkoff, will continue to work closely with Israel and our allies to make sure Gaza never again becomes a terrorist safe haven. We will continue promoting peace through strength. This is Trump's Truth Social statement, promoting peace through strength throughout the region as we build upon this momentum of this ceasefire to further expand the historic Abraham Accords. And this is what Trump is writing. This is only the beginning of great things to come for America and indeed the world. So let's listen to Trump last week so there's like a good cop, bad cop thing going on here. And that's I just want to remind you of the bad cop side of this from Trump. Hell to pay.
And he exhorts us to speak emphatically. And emphatically means you better get it, you better do this, because the alternative...
Do you think they're waiting for President Trump to take office?
No, I think they heard him loud and clear. Better get done by the inaugural.
But when you say all hell will be paid, that all hell must be paid if they don't release the hostages.
Well, do I have to define it for you? Look, all hell will break out. If those hostages
Here it is.
aren't back, I don't want to hurt your negotiation. If they're not back by the time I get into office, all hell will break out in the Middle East.
Boom. Here's the thing about it. When somebody like Biden comes out and says, don't, remember that? Don't. You know what they say? They say, don't listen. When Trump says there will be hell to pay, and he says for Hamas, but he's also, there's something else there. We've talked about this before, 855-839-1210. He's speaking to everybody there. He's speaking to Iran. That's who he's also speaking to. Hell to pay. They've not forgotten that, and they know this is for real. So right now we have this delay, and this reportedly, and there was fire overnight, and reportedly there were 70. This is from the Palestinian side of, that's what the news calls it, but 70 victims who were the Palestinians died in this overnight fire as Israel was striking back again. So they had a back and forth just overnight in the wee hours of the morning, our time. So there is a lot breaking. This is a delicate situation. I have every confidence that they will get this done. They will figure it out. And I do not believe, I refuse to believe that, in fact, this is somehow Netanyahu with 98 people down in some dark tunnel, haven't seen daylight for some 400 days. It is gross to me to think that Netanyahu or anybody here would just do this to hold off for a Trump inaugural. Give me a break. Everybody's giving Trump the credit anyway. We have some great insights for you with our guests coming up. Stay right there. 855-839-1210. Be right back.
This is Larry Steinhaus with Investor Schooling. Are you ready for retirement? Have you prepared everything you need? Well, in Investor Schooling, we will teach you ways to better prepare for your retirement using real estate and the stock market. But you need to learn how to do it right, and that's what we teach. At Investor Schooling, we sell nothing but education. Come to Investor Schooling and learn how to have a better retirement. Go to investorschooling.com and RSVP right now for this Thursday's class at 7 o'clock. Go to investorschooling.com. That's investorschooling.com. This is Larry Steinhaus with Investor Schooling. Are you tired of hearing about the recession that's coming? Are you prepared for it? Well, listen, at investorschooling.com, we're going to teach you ways to prepare for the recession that you didn't even know existed. We're going to teach you strategies on how to use real estate. We're going to teach you strategies how to use the stock market properly. That's right, you can even make money in the stock market when the stock market goes down. Hey, go to investorschooling.com and register for a free class this Thursday night, and you will learn all of these techniques. Go to investorschooling.com right now, RSVP for this Thursday. We'll see you there.
Most of us don't fit in the clothes we wore 30 years ago, and financial advice from 30 years ago doesn't fit either. Tune in to the Retirement Spectrum with Alan Cohen, Saturdays at 3 on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
Virtua Health, real patients, real doctors, real complex cases. Take one.
Open heart surgery, tear in my aorta.
The most complex cases come to us at Virtua Health.
I'm sure I wouldn't have been here without you.
Being a 45-year-old, not being able to walk up one flight of stairs, I had no idea I was in heart failure.
Virtua is a premier heart failure center in South Jersey.
They changed my life. It's truly a blessing.
Want to follow our stories? Go to virtua.org. Virtua Health. here for good.
Don't miss the Labor and Energy Show with J-Doc and Krause, brought to you by the Labor and Energy Alliance this Saturday night at 6. Find out about the important issues that will affect you. The Labor and Energy Show, Saturday night at 6 on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
The pro football playoff season is here, and there's one place to be. The BetQL Network, presented by BetMGM.
Your home for wagertainment, giving you the sharpest insights and bringing on expert guest analysis.
From point spreads to props, live betting to futures, BetQL has you covered every step of the way with wall-to-wall coverage on the road to the championship in New Orleans.
Listen live on the BetQL Network, presented by BetMGM on the free Odyssey app and twitch.tv/BetQL or YouTube at Odyssey Sports.
See Joe Conklin with the City Rhythm Orchestra. It's Philly sports put to music at Westchester University in Pittman, New Jersey, February 21st and 22nd.
I'm glad I came. Best ever.
The highs, the lows, that band.
The music, the singing, everything. You laugh, you tear it up.
That's Conklin and City Rhythm at Westchester University on Friday, February 21st. And at the Broadway Theater in Pittman, New Jersey, Saturday, February 22nd. For tickets, go to joeconklin.com.
joeconklin.com! Be sure to follow Talk Radio 1210 WPHT on the free Odyssey app. Download it now.
Not be appropriate for a prosecutor to start with a name and look for a crime. It's a prosecutor's job to start with a crime and look for a name, correct?
Senator, I think that is the whole problem with the weaponization that we have seen the last 4 years and what's been happening to Donald Trump. They targeted Donald Trump. They went after him, actually starting back in 2016. They targeted his campaign. They have launched countless investigations against him. That will not be the case if I am Attorney General.
Pam Bondi, I think she crushed it. And I think that she will be, there's no question in my mind that she gets this nod, this nomination. They tried to trip her up. They tried every hypothetical. But in the end, if I were a Democrat right now, I would just make this perfunctory and boring because they're making headlines by making fools of themselves. Hey, Dawn Stensland, rejoining you. We have Sergeant Betsy Brantner Smith in the house. Good morning. I'm sorry to keep you.
Hey, good
we
morning.
Had a lot of
Happy New Year.
We haven't talked yet. And Happy New Year, National Police Association. I will say this, that we haven't had a chance to even chat this New Year. There's so much happening, and I would love to get your take as far as how you think Pam Bondi did. She's obviously somebody who's, she's somebody who has served in so many different capacities as a chief prosecutor, as somebody who upholds the law. She has a great reputation in Florida there, but I think that she'll be perfect for the job. Your take on the confirmation hearings from what you saw, Sergeant Betsy Brantner Smith.
So from a prosecutorial standpoint, I was so pleased yesterday to see how she performed, to hear those answers, and to see and hear how she dealt with some of the outrageous and, quite frankly, stupid questions that were presented to her. Mazie Hirono, who we all know is the dumbest woman in the legislature, just continued to beclown herself. And then Sheldon Whitehouse from Rhode Island trying to trip her up. So I was a little worried about Pam Bondi, to be honest. I wasn't sure how strong she would be. I think she absolutely crushed it, and I think she's what we're going to want in an attorney general. Fair-minded, no nonsense. She's not particularly political per se, but she was spot on in her answers and talking about how Donald Trump really had been persecuted, how there had been a man, and then we fit a crime to that man, and things like that. So I think law enforcement is going to be very pleased with what they see from Pam Bondi, and I loved her defense of Kash Patel, who she's going to work closely with when he is confirmed to be director of the FBI, and I don't know if you know, but the National Police Association was the first large organization to endorse Kash Patel for director of the FBI, and we're really looking forward to those hearings.
Well, and that's just it. I'll take it to the local level because, I talk to so many cops, whether they're Pennsylvania, New Jersey, state, at the state level or at the local level, whether it's Philadelphia, suburban cops, they're all saying the same thing that you're talking about. And that is that law enforcement for too long over these really rough years, they have felt in many ways that, their local government, certainly at the national level, without, not National Police Association, but as far as the federal level, they feel like, they're out there hanging in the wind. And I'll even take it local as far as a story that broke, and this was 2020. It was March 13th, 2020. I'll never forget it. We were on the air at that point, and we were, I was starting to get texts from law enforcement sources that a Philadelphia police officer had been shot and killed early that morning, struck by gunfire. And these were I'm just going to say it, scumbag murder suspects serving warrants in the Frankfurt section of the city, a dangerous job. And James O'Connor now has been, posthumously promoted to corporal, but Corporal James O'Connor, a member of the Philadelphia Department's, police department SWAT team at that point, and was murdered, gunned down that morning. Horrifying.
Some audio from Terry O'Connor from NBC 10.
Couldn't take my eyes off the man who killed Jimmy. I don't know how he can sit there so calm, and and he ruined our lives.
It's been a tough couple years for the family, who tell me it was Sergeant O'Connor's dream to work for the SWAT team. In March of 2020, O'Connor and other members of the SWAT team were serving a homicide warrant for Elliot. As Sergeant O'Connor and other officers approached the staircase of the second floor at a stash house on Bridge Street, Elliot fired several shots, killing the Philadelphia police officer.
My birthday was March 12th, and he was killed 8 hours later. And we were a month short of our 25th wedding anniversary, and everything was just taken from us.
And so that, you're hearing, his, Mrs. O'Connor, his widow, who it was her birthday the night before on the 12th. And so we've attended here, Betsy, we have fundraisers for families, behind the badge. These widows, their kids, their lives have to go on. And this is difficult to see. But at the time, it was aggravating, because you just felt like at the very least, the justice would not be swift. So here we are. I mean, by the time the two guys, now they pleaded guilty yesterday, but you think about that. That was March of 2020. By the time these guys get sentenced, it'll be nearly 5 years that this grieving widow, the grieving coworkers, fellow cops, finally see justice. And these guys now, pleading, making guilty pleas. Thank God that there's some justice. But really, to take 5 years, that's not what I would call swift justice.
Well, no. And the recommended sentencing is 55 to 75 years for Elliot and 35 to 50 years for Khalif Sears. And, and let's not forget the O'Connor family, they had a son on the job as well. Yes. when the corporal was murdered. And this murder was so cowardly. The suspect fired more than a dozen shots through the wall. He had no idea who he was shooting at, except for he was shooting at law enforcement who was coming to serve a homicide warrant. I mean, it was just such a cowardly act. And when you look at, this was March of 2020. I think it was about the same week we were getting shut down. So everybody was kind of focused on COVID, and we didn't know what COVID was. And what was law enforcement doing? Out doing their job. What was James O'Connor doing? Out risking his life, and he paid the ultimate price, and so did his family.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. So Jimmy O'Connor, the fifth Philadelphia police officer, and also, they have a daughter who serves in the Air Force. But you're exactly right. And I know that Terry O'Connor, Mrs. O'Connor, she spoke out yesterday. She was glad that this was a good thing as far as finally, justice is done and they can try to have some kind of closure. But they had their mortgage to pay, and life does go on. And the fact that they weren't supported by the city, I could go on, but I just, at the time, also our commissioner, Rich Ross, and you may remember this, and it was an unfortunate, I have known him for years. Unfortunately, he had left, and then we had Daniel Outlaw. That was a disaster. Mayor Kenny at the time. Oh, geez. I mean, the whole thing to me was just a disaster. I'm glad we're over that chapter, but it takes me back to some really dark years in the city of Philadelphia. And that's why I think at least I will say this, Betsy, that there were times when things were going on when Trump was president. And I know that we had our AG, U.S. attorney, that sort of thing. They would look at some of these things and they would try to see if they could even look at federal charges to at least bring forth some justice, even if Krasner and the locals were not bringing forth a swift justice.
Well, and think about that, how things have changed now. And we really are seeing the tide turning, albeit slowly. But we have seen many of these Soros-installed far-left prosecutors have either been replaced, they have been misplaced, and L.A. County, which everybody's watching now, they have a prosecutor who every single day since the fire started is standing up talking about specifically how he is going to prosecute the looters, the burglars, and the scammers that are trying to take advantage of fire victims. And frankly, I believe him. And I think we're going to see more of that. This is a different Trump administration than we saw in 2020. And it's different times. People are, you and I have talked about it a million times, people are tired of being crime victims, and they're starting to hold their elected officials accountable. And again, that's what I think that, to full circle it, that's what I think we're going to see from the Justice Department under, with Pam Bondi as our AG and Kash Patel as our FBI director. I think we're going to see a real renaissance, a real return to, late 90s law and order.
Well, thank God. It can't come soon enough. Sergeant Betsy Brantner-Smith, thank you so much. As always, it's just great to hear your wise words. National Police Association, and as you said, I mean, this is important for people to support. The group that you represent. Although you are from a law enforcement background, from the ground up, you've worked. You've paid your dues. Certainly from local to state level, national, obviously. National Police Association, but we just really appreciate you and thank you so much.
Thanks so much for having me, Don.
Absolutely. Sergeant Betsy Brantner-Smith. So, and check out their site as we think about the National Police Association, nationalpolice.org, because they support local law enforcement. And you know this, many of our law enforcement, when they are, maybe they feel that there's a persecution rather than a prosecution of law enforcement, the National Police Association has their back and makes sure that they're represented and that sort of thing. So that's important too. You know what else is important? We are in the middle of this deep freeze. I know the thermometer might say 26, but this morning, I'll tell you, in the wee hours of the morning when I was, driving in, we were with the wind chill factor, single digits. And man, am I glad that I made sure that I called my friends at Marvin E. Cans earlier. This is a month or so ago, and they made sure that my home is efficient, safe. This is paramount. And they checked out my HVAC system. The filters were all full and nasty. Needed a little tweaking there on the HVAC system to make sure everything is good to go. So I want you to know about Marvin E. Cans. By the way, 3rd generation owned, veteran founded company. Look them up. So the last name is Kanze, because Jonathan Cans was telling me his grandfather, a real war hero. We'll have to do more on that. but veteran-founded company, a lot of pride with this family. Full backgrounds, you know me. I'm always thinking about, are they background checked? Yes, of course they are. And their technicians, when they come to the house, by the way, they are well-trained technicians, longtime employees. But the one thing they are not salespeople. And most importantly, they're not commissioned salespeople, because that's a little ruse that I learned the hard way. So make sure that you always do that background check of your own when you're hiring somebody. Take my advice. Call Marvin E. Cans. Get your furnace, your HVAC checked out for winter. And by the way, if they feel that your unit needs to be replaced, they're going to give you an honest assessment at a fair price. Install a high efficiency Trane furnace. Hard to stop a train, Trane. Get it? Trane. Awesome. I mean, the best. So contact Marvin E. Cans Heating and Air Conditioning now. Marvin E. Cans, KANZE.com. And by the way, I found out the hard way so I was like, hey, by the way, do you do water? Because my water heaters blew out 20 years. So they were back again fixing the water heaters. Did a tremendous job. Two brothers, played football like my boys. Just, they're great people. And I trust them. You can trust them too. So marvinecans.com, check it out, and let them know that Dawn sent you.
At Independence Blue Cross, we take care of the people who take care of you. Everyday heroes like firefighters, police officers, teachers, farmers, and healthcare workers. Doctors and hospitals across the region have IBX, and they know what it means to have reliable access to care. So whether you're saving lives or just trying to live a healthier life, count on IBX, the region's #1 health insurer for 85 years. Learn more at IBX.com.
Win big this winter with CNC Heating and Air Conditioning's win-win deal, offering the best HVAC value on new installs to keep your home warm. Save thousands instantly with no equipment markups, extended 10-year warranty, rebates, and tax credits. Plus, CNC makes budgeting for your new system easy with 0% financing options. Schedule an estimate today with CNC Heating and Air Conditioning, your local York certified comfort experts, and start saving today. Visit cc-hvac.com. Offers only for new installations through January 31st.
Stop buying gold online. Edelman's Coins is the Philadelphia area's largest buyer and seller of gold and silver bullion. Family owned for 99 years, Edelman's Coins has continued to provide ultra-competitive pricing paired with unparalleled customer service. With transparent buy-sell spreads, you know you will always get a fair deal. When buying or selling bullion or coins, think Edelman's Coins. Call 215-572-6480 or visit edelmanscoins.com.
Buy low, sell high. It's a cardinal rule of investing. With the market near record highs, you need a proven system that protects what you have earned without sacrificing opportunity for growth.
Jim O'Neill, Huntington Valley, Pennsylvania. With the stock market at record highs, I would recommend taking your money and put it into a crash-proof retirement system. This year, I have earned over 14%, and it can't be taken away.
Gail Schlosser, and I started with Crash-Proof Retirement in 2016. I'm getting great returns, up to 12 to 15%, and it's not going to dwindle away in the stock market.
Regina Kukulski, Langhorne. This year, I earned 10.5% interest. I feel really good looking at that because it's not money I lost.
Dolores Queen, Hatboro, Pennsylvania. We have outperformed the market this year, and when we earn 14%, it's ours to keep.
Schedule an appointment or register for our next event at the Copperfield Inn on January 22nd. 800-722-9728 or crashproofretirement.com.
Now back to the Piazza Premium Automobile Studios. Powering your drive with 10 brands and 20 locations. This is Talk Radio 1210, WPHT.
Was because you can say all those things and say you stand for it. I wanted somebody with a demonstrated record of delivering results on those important issues. Talk is cheap. We need people that have demonstrated fidelity to these principles with their actions. So that is why today I'm proud to announce that I am selecting our Attorney General, Ashley Moody, to serve as our next U.S. Senator. So,
breaking news from Florida. This announcement just coming in from Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, just announcing that he's planning to tap the state's Attorney General, Ashley Moody. She's replacing Senator Marco Rubio when he leaves his office to become the next U.S. Secretary of State. And I have no doubt that his fellow senators, he's going to get that nod. And so Moody is a loyalist to not only Governor DeSantis, but also to Donald J. Trump, the president-elect, obviously. And her appointment then really sets off, if you think about what's going to happen in 2026, and we have to look at that domino impact. But Moody for Senate now clears the way for DeSantis to name his chief of staff to replace her as the AG, right? And that's according, so I don't know that maybe he'll announce this today, but I think he's making it about Ashley Moody. But his chief of staff is James Udemeyer. He will replace then her. So that's the domino impact as we move forward. And then what about down the line in 26? Because she's filling an appointment, obviously. So then she would presumably run for re-election, right, for her to keep the job that she's now being appointed to. But Representative Corey Mills, he announced recently that he would run for Rubio's seat. So it looks like then she'd be up against Corey Mills. So I'm just taking you through sort of the political fallout of this for Florida, but that's his pick, Ashley Moody. And man, there's so much that's fast breaking. Was he slated to get? I don't know that he was slated. I was so focused on everything that was happening with the breaking news with the ceasefire deal, all of the nominations, within the Senate nominations for all of the cabinet positions. So this was not, I'll be honest, it was not on my radar, Dan.
No, only announced, I think, the press conference about 4 hours ago.
Okay.
And then it was about 50 minutes ago where there was a local story that broke. It said DeSantis expected to announce Rubio's Senate replacement, source says. And then you just heard about 2 minutes ago who that was. I do have a CV on her if you want, a resume. He does run down DeSantis, but I don't know. Is that too inside baseball, you think?
I don't know. I think that as far as this goes, they want to make sure that they tee somebody up who is known by Floridians, and then we'll have a pathway to win again, because she doesn't have too long to prove herself in the job, right? And then comes back up again next year in 26. So, she's somebody who I think he wants to get her in there. She is a proven winner and somebody who, Rubio trusts.
Name recognition in the state of Florida, too, because she ran in recent elections. Commercials have been played down there, and DeSantis actually makes a quick joke about that.
So many of you know her. She's obviously been on the ballot twice statewide and won big victories. She's honorably served our people as her time as Attorney General over these last 6 years. She's a fifth-generation native of Plant City, Florida.
And then he goes deeper into the...
Which, by the way, is unusual. To meet somebody who's a native of Florida, most people are transplants.
5 generations, too, no less.
So that's, that certainly is critical. So we'll talk about that moving forward. Get your thoughts on that. Just a little diversion. Senate Judiciary Committee holding the second day of the confirmation hearing for Pam Bondi, by the way. Speaking of Florida, man, you think about the West Wing and it's and the new Trump administration. I think Florida, talk about Florida domination, but Pam Bondi, I think she did awesome. You've heard that from me all morning long. President-elect Donald Trump's pick for Attorney General. She'll be fabulous.
It's really like Florida's the fast track for politicians at this point with Bondi. And you know how they call the Eagles a quarterback factory because we have Hurts and allegedly Tanner McKee's something special. So they call us the quarterback factory. Well, I think we can call Florida the politician factory in 2025, right?
Yeah, I just think she was impressive. And she is, you see in her, she's a veteran. She is somebody who is very confident and comfortable in her own skin. Testifying yesterday, she's her own woman. And so any suggestion that somehow she'll be some kind of a patsy or that she will carry out some kind of a political agenda is ridiculous. And so today's testimony, I'll just say, focuses on the character witnesses. But somebody who I had the opportunity to meet in person, spend a little time with when he was here campaigning for Trump Force 47. One of my favorites, former North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum. Now, this guy, he and Trump hit it off. Remember this, because they were on the campaign trail together as opponents. Burgum, ran for president, and he quickly, became friendly with Trump. Burgum is a billionaire. He's an independent guy and a good guy, in my humble opinion, and a straight talker. But Trump has picked him to lead the Interior Department, and so he's answering questions for members of the Senate Energy and Natural Resources Committee. And so, he and Trump hit it off. And remember, he was a finalist for the VP pick, as was Senator Marco Rubio as well. I mean, obviously, J.D. Vance got it. And I think part of that is the influence of Don Jr., who clearly hit it off with J.D. Vance and felt like it's Vance. And we've seen Vance. If there was a little lull in support for him because people didn't know what to expect. What is that hillbilly elegy thing if you didn't see the movie, right? So we heard that. But, man, once Vance hit the talk show circuit and the way that he's so good in these interviews, and then you see his strengths, that he has this likability about him, and with a twinkle in his eye and a smile on his face, he basically rips all these liberal, in the bubble pundits who are out of touch and just rips them a new one, but does it in such a velvet, smooth way that I love it. So, but Burgum was a contender. So he was a finalist. That is from all the top sources that Trump really considered him as a running mate, because that's how much Trump trusts him. But I'll get into Burgum, in the coming days. But as far as Burgum, where he's so impressive is drilling. He gets it because he lived it, right? He also understands what all of these, because remember, he is neighboring to Minnesota and their woke policies and how that harms our energy policies. He can speak to all of that. When he speaks about energy and the importance of energy independence, he is 100% credible. And you know that. You see his authenticity. But something else I'm going to tell you, as Interior Department head, he also would be in charge of leading the pathway to make sure that we can prevent these kind of wildfires that we see going on in California and the devastation. This is where Burgum will shine. And I have no doubt today, as the Senate Judiciary Committee is holding these hearings, Burgum will speak to that, and you'll hear that and see his 100% the complete credibility. Okay, so I just want to give you that heads up. 855-839-1210. Speaking of credibility, Chapman Windows, Doors, and Siding, they have complete credibility with me. I trust them when it comes to my home, and they have made my home more beautiful. So I trust them with windows, doors, siding, stucco remediation, all of that. Until the end of this month, you can receive 50% off any standard door installation when you buy a new door. A new front entry door, it basically gives you a makeover. It's like an instant thing you can do, gives your house a whole new, refreshed look. So if you maybe have an upcoming wedding, a graduation, a family event, this is a great time. Take advantage of this incredible promotion. Chapman Windows, Doors, and Siding, they carry a range of these top brands, beautiful doors you can choose from, including Provia. That's what I have. And they're going to work with you to pick the perfect door for you and your home. So here's the thing. You can go visit their showroom in Westchester. They're local. They're great people. You'll love seeing the showroom in person. Maybe you don't have time for that. Maybe you'd prefer they come to your home. They'll come to you too. So whether you are somebody you're looking for windows, doors, siding, shutters, all the hardware choices, give Chapman a call. You can text. They're local. They're like-minded. 610-431-8898. ChapmanWindowsDoors.com. ChapmanWindowsDoors.com. Tell them Dawn sent you.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6481. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6481. That's 800-575-6481. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
As a business owner, you wear a lot of hats. One minute you're ordering today's inventory, and the next you're planning tomorrow's expansion. It's complicated, but your business credit card should be simple. With the Signify Business Cash Card by Wells Fargo, you earn unlimited 2% cash rewards on purchases for your business with no caps or categories to track. Signify Business Cash, the deliberately simple business credit card. Learn more at wellsfargo.com/signify. Terms apply.
Hey, it's Joe DeCamera. Let me tell you about United Tire and Service. You know, we all want to trust the people that service our cars, and we all want convenience. With 10 locally owned United Tire locations, you can get your car into the shop and back on the road quick and easy. And whether it's for an oil change or an engine repair, they'll take the time to get to know you and your car. They always get you the best tire prices by shopping competition to save you money on all the major brands. Schedule for the location nearest you at UnitedTire.com. That's UnitedTire.com. Don't drive alone. Drive United.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm. If you own a timeshare, don't miss this public service announcement from Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group.
If you receive an unsolicited phone call or mail piece to discuss selling, renting, or especially canceling your timeshare, don't fall for it. If you really want out of your timeshare, hang the phone up immediately or throw that mail piece in the trash and contact your timeshare resort or Wesley Financial Group for assistance with your timeshare. As the only Inc. 500 timeshare cancellation company, our knowledge, experience, and results has made Wesley a trusted resource for over 40,000 families we've helped get out of their timeshare. Give us a call, and I'll send you our Timeshare Exit Information Kit free with the straight facts about your timeshare and all of your options for cancellation.
Call for your free info kit, 800-329-2121. 800-329-2121. 800-329-2121. Attention Medicaid patients.
If you're on Medicaid, how would you like if your caretaker was your daughter, your son, your grandchild, or your close friend? If you're on Medicaid, Freedom Care allows you to choose who provides your care, and that caregiver will get paid instantly after their shift. Yes, your caregiver will get paid instantly, and it's 100% free to you if you are on Medicaid. Call 267-692-3782 and ask Freedom Care how to get started with care today. No more worrying about getting care from an aide at an agency. Freedom Care helps you choose who you want to take care of you, and that person gets paid. Call Freedom Care at 267-692-3782, 267-692-3782 to get started today. You get a caregiver you know and trust, and they get paid instantly after their shift, and it's free to you. Start now by calling 267-692-3782, 267-692-3782, or go to freedomcare.com.
PNC Private Bank knows that anything can happen on the gridiron, and being prepared goes a long way. It's not so different with your wealth. Whether you are looking to grow it over time, planning business succession, or integrate charitable giving, having a dedicated local team of specialized advisors who take a calculated, disciplined approach to managing your wealth leads to a lot of wins. The PNC Private Bank team knows that just like in football, that kind of preparation is good for your financial game. PNC Bank, brilliantly boring since 1865. PNC Bank National Association, member FDIC.
Hey, this is Jimmy Fallon in the house, and dig this, folks. This is not a drill. It's the real thing. You can now join me weeknights from 7 to 10 p.m. on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT or anywhere on the free Odyssey app.
So up ahead, just moments away from an angle of somebody who knows Benjamin Netanyahu very well and worked for the prime minister and can give us some insights into why Mr. Netanyahu has pushed the pause button here after what happened after a video was released or produced in which they saw that Hamas was sort of celebrating with great pride the slaughter of innocent civilians, Jews, young women, girls, babies, grandparents, etc. And so we want to get into this as far as what's really going on. And then also at the same time, I mean, as I've said, say a prayer for those I know you've been praying for them. I've been praying for them too. These hostages, we don't have confirmation as to how many of these hostages are still alive, but we do have word that many of them are clinging to life, are just holding on. I know. And I can't even imagine that's your son, that's your brother, that's your husband, your wife. You know what I mean? I can't even wrap my brain around that level of frustration that they're trapped 30 plus feet underground in a dark cave, haven't seen daylight in, well over a year. Like, you can't even imagine what that would be like. It's sick. It's sickening. It's horrible. And I don't even have tolerance for anybody who wants to call in and say, well, so they're both victims or this or that, the other. This was a terror attack. And my angle on this is that just as it would be wrong to say that those people who died in the Twin Towers on 9/11 were somehow responsible because of the history and blah, blah, blah. No. If you have innocent people who are innocent civilians, they're unarmed people, and they're going about living their best life until the day a terror attack happens, it's a terror attack. So let's be real here. And I think that's why the deal wasn't struck previously, right? Because you had a re-election going on where the president and Vice President Biden-Harris were more worried about politics and were more worried about voters who might not like a hardline attitude to, support victims of a terror attack. I'm just saying. So I know that last night, we talked a lot this morning about the farewell address of Biden. We've talked, oh my gosh, there's so much breaking news that has happened throughout the day, and we've been hitting on it. We didn't even talk yet in this hour about the red dye issue. And this is getting a lot of reaction from people we had touched on this yesterday briefly because they just came out yesterday and said, yep, we're going to be banning red dye from your food, from medication, even prescription medication, cough syrup. So we'll try to get into some health news. And then there is yet another report that says if you like baked food, if you like bacon, if you like foods that are smoked, processed meats like lunch meats, sausages, your cancer risk and your health risk, but also your dementia risk. So we'll talk about some health news as well. And we have some fun news too. We'll get into all of it right around the corner, but we want to make sure we stay on time at the top of the hour, updating you on all of the breaking news, Trump news as well. But we'll get to our great guest who has true insights to the mind of Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu, Bibi, when we come back.
I'm Jalen Hurst here for Window Nation. If you're a fan of saving money, listen up.
Right now, get 50% off all window styles. Plus, you could get 0 interest and 0 payments for 2 years. Sale ends January 31st, so schedule your consult now at 866-90Nation or at windownation.com. Tell them you heard it on WPHT.
Don't pay more than you have to for new windows. Call 866-90Nation or visit windownation.com.
Hey everyone, it's Ted from Consumer Cellular, the guy in the orange sweater, and this is your wake-up call. If you're paying too much for wireless service, you don't have to keep having that nightmare. Consumer Cellular has the same fast, reliable coverage as the leading carriers for less. And for a limited time, new customers receive their second month free when they sign up and use promo code SECONDFREE by January 26th. So why keep spending more than you have to? Seriously, wake up and call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com.
Taxes, fees, and other third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
The election is over and a new pro-business administration's about to begin. At Swish Funding, we're ready to help America's small businesses thrive in 25. Whether it's for cash flow, expansion, or new equipment, Swish Funding has flexible funding options from $25,000 up to $2 million. You could get a decision in minutes and cash in your account in as little as 24 hours, with rates as low as 8%. To qualify, be in business at least 1 year, with monthly revenue of at least $50,000. Apply today at swishfunding.com. SWISH funding.com.
The good and bad with home improvement projects. The good, you save a buck or two. The bad.
Kevin, there's no hot water.
So you move on to the car.
Kevin, what's with the car?
Good news, you can recover from these.
Kevin!
Well, most all of them. But when it comes to your retirement, a mistake can be devastating. Call Joe Yakovich at JML Financial Group. He's been helping folks prepare for retirement for over 30 years. That's why he's able to correct your do-it-yourself problems before they're problems. Get your complimentary assessment of where you are now and look at some of the retirement boxes you haven't even thought of.
Kevin!
You can't YouTube your retirement. Call Joe Yakovich at 856-925-6674 or visit jmlfinancialgroup.com. Securities and investment advisory services offered through Brokers International Financial Services, LLC, member SIPC. Brokers International Financial Services, LLC is not an affiliated company.
Kale and Company weekday mornings 6 till 10.
We are so excited and super proud to announce that the 1210 WPHT studios will now be the Piazza Auto Group and Piazza Premium Automobiles Studios. And we are so excited and humbled for Piazza to serve as our naming rights partner, and we look forward to growing what is already a wonderful partnership.
Start your day with Kale and Company. Weekday mornings 6 till 10 on Talk Radio 1210, WPHT, and the free Odyssey app.
See Joe Conklin with the City Rhythm Orchestra. It's Philly sports put to music at Westchester University in Pittman, New Jersey, February 21st and 22nd.
Love the orchestra.
Joe's great. He encapsulates a Philly sports fan.
Oh, I love the music. I especially like the old songs from Philly.
The impressions of different voices.
That's Conklin and City Rhythm at Westchester University on Friday, February 21st. And at the Broadway Theater in Pittman, New Jersey, Saturday, February 22nd. For tickets, go to joeconklin.com. joeconklin.com!
What's one of your favorite memories?
That's a tough question. Well, there was this one time I went camping with my parents in a forest back when I was maybe like 8 or 9. And I can remember one night we were laying out in our hammocks and we were just, watching the trees rustling in the wind above us, and we could hear the sounds of the forest all around us. Frogs singing and owls calling and the creek running nearby. It was amazing. It felt like we were a part of it all. I don't know if I do it justice trying to describe it, but I'll definitely never forget it.
Most of us have a memory of being in nature we'll never forget. Let's protect the world's natural places so more memories can be made for generations to come. Visit worldwildlife.org.
Talk Radio 1210, WPHT, WPHT HD, WOGL HD3, Philadelphia. Always live on the free Odyssey app. From the Piazza Premium Automobile Studios, powering your drive with 10 brands and 20 locations. Live and local from Philadelphia. The Dawn Stensland Show on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
So much breaking news, developing news. We'll talk about all of it today. Dawn Stensland at Dawn Stensland. Thanks for being here today. So the new developments as far as this reported ceasefire deal, and so many prayers answered yesterday, and celebration and glee reaction worldwide to what was reported, an announcement of a ceasefire deal, a deal to return the hostages, victims of a brutal terror attack, make no mistake, kidnapped victims who have, hope to God, survived this. So of the 98 people held somewhere down 30 plus feet below in these caves, of them, we are hearing reports, many clinging to life, but as well that as many as 1/3 of them are not alive. It's grim news. And then early this morning, 6 o'clock this morning, I reported to you the latest that we learned that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, he announced a delay this morning. Why? Well, because there was what he described as a last-minute crisis. As Israel was then sharing this newly revealed video of Hamas, of terrorists, boasting of pride. And that's a quote. They were proud of the October 7th deadly terror attack. And then also threats of ongoing violence. So this delicate peace deal, ceasefire deal, I should say, then obviously that put it on hold. And that's where we are this morning as now we know that Netanyahu delaying the cabinet voting as they investigate all of this and try to figure this out. And so with that in mind, it's important to get the insights of understanding, and I mean it when I say I cannot imagine what it would be like to live through this kind of a terror attack. And then because the terrorists were body cam, right? So they captured the vicious, brutal terror attack on innocent civilians. I was saying to my sons, I mean, they're the ages, you're looking at, anybody from a high school senior, college age, right? So 18, 19, 20-ish, right? That was the first attack. Young people during a faith-based concert celebration on a beautiful day. It was supposed to be a beautiful day. And then these terrorists going door to door. Mommies, daddies, grandparents, babies slaughtered and or tortured and or kidnapped. That's what happened. So you can't help it as somebody, even if you're the prime minister, right? That you take this personally. This is your family.
I'm legitimately pissed off about this. And you heard President Trump multiple times say there needs to be hell to pay. And you have here a deal that's been worked out that's now being discussed, especially in the Jewish community. Is this a deal that really benefits Israel, or is this just a concession to a degree, rather than, because if you hear something like hell to pay, that means, that they're not going to have a chance to ever do this again in the future. But if you're making a deal like this, you're still keeping that door open for Hamas to return and
which Trump has promised, and Trump has promised no. He vowed that again on Truth Social. But let's get to our next guest. Because Ruthie Bloom knows and can take us inside the heart and the mind of the Prime Minister, Bibi, Benjamin Netanyahu, because she worked as an advisor right to the Prime Minister in his office. She's an award-winning columnist, senior contributing editor at JNS.com, co-host, by the way, of the JNS TV podcast, which perhaps you're familiar with. If you're not, it's an incredible podcast, Israel Undiplomatic. And so let's think about not just an actual war, but let's think about a media war. And we know this. It's a media war. It's a marketing battle that I talk about bias by omission or media bias. And then on top of that, think about what happened at the educational level with some of our so-called, Ivy League esteemed universities. And we learned about indoctrination, again, going to the marketing and the media aspect of what our young people are learning in universities and schools. So, Ruthie Bloom, it's my honor to welcome you in this morning. Good morning.
Well, good morning, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So take us, if you will, because some people, obviously everyone was heartened to think, okay, good, the hostages are coming home. We've been praying for them, many, across Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the nation, the world, really praying for these hostages and thinking about them. But take us through why this is important, and I believe you're going to say this, why the Prime Minister, Bibi Netanyahu, thinks it's important to just put a hold on this right now.
Okay, so first of all, the real reason that he's putting a hold on it is that Hamas at the last minute already violated one of the clauses of the agreement that was ostensibly reached between Hamas, Qatar, Egypt, the United States, and Israel. And that clause was that Israel had the right to veto which Palestinian terrorists would be released from Israeli jails as part of this quote-unquote exchange. It's terrible to call it that because the hostages are innocent victims of a brutal attack, as you pointed out, and the terrorists in jails are perpetrators of attacks against innocent people. So, even putting them on a par is disgusting in the first place. And in the second place, for every hostage released, there's something like 50 terrorists going to be released from jail. So the real reason he put it on, paused it, is he told his negotiators in Doha, Qatar, to make sure that clause is honored. because Hamas, at the last minute, listen, it's a terrorist organization. Okay, so if they kill and maim and rape, they certainly are capable of lying and backing out of deals.
And so, as far as I know that the Prime Minister Netanyahu had actually, there was an accusation of a last minute blackmail attempt with regard to Hamas. Can you expound on that at all?
Well, it's really extortion because this is what the terrorists do. They say, okay, we'll agree to this, and then at the last minute they up the ante. And the trouble is because, as you point out rightly, the whole world was, celebrating, heaving a sigh of relief that we're going to see the hostages back. Although Israelis are a little more divided on that because in the first place, not all the hostages are going to be returned because Hamas, that's its only leverage now. That's number one. Number two, Hamas wouldn't even give a list of which hostages are alive or which ones are going to return in the first phase of this supposedly three-phase deal. And also parents of soldiers who are also parents, perhaps, of people killed on October 7th, are saying, you mean our sons died in vain in this war to defeat Hamas? And then there are the parents, as you also pointed out, you said you have kids that age who are kidnapped or killed. Well, imagine the parents of the boys who are 19-ish, as you said, whose sons are not on the list of the ones being returned in the first phase. And they fear, rightly, that if they're not returned all together, if all the 98 remaining hostages are not returned together, that their sons will be left there for, forever maybe. Or because, again, Hamas has no incentive to return all the hostages, dead or alive. By the way, Hamas understands that Israel also considers those who were killed and are still, their bodies are in Gaza, as crucial because they have to be returned for a proper burial and their families need closure. So, the whole situation is terrible. It's a terrible deal, but Netanyahu was willing to make it. He's been willing to make it throughout the the Biden administration, and Hamas kept saying no. The reason Hamas now is saying yes does have to do with the fact that it's been decimated and also that President-elect Trump threatened that all hell would break loose, etc. The trouble is that Trump said that, but then he sent his prospective Mideast envoy to go to Doha and basically say, make a deal, and then go to Jerusalem and pressure Netanyahu to make a deal. And it was more, I have to say, sort of reminiscent of Biden's pressure than Trump's threat.
And so with that, and that's an interesting perspective here, because on one hand, you have Steve Witkoff, who I suspect Netanyahu is more likely to trust him, perhaps. But on the other hand, you do have this pressure. So how does that work? And with the latest with Netanyahu this morning and making this announcement, and apparently there was a video that was released. That's what we're hearing, Ruthie, that there was a video that was released that showed that Hamas, that some of these terrorists were talking about their pride in that deadly terror attack, October 7th. That obviously does not go over well. And then that they were making future threats as well. So can you give us some perspective on all of that?
Yes. Well, okay. As to your first point about Trump, about trusting Trump's envoy. Well, of course, there's reason for Israel to trust the incoming Trump administration more than the outgoing Biden administration, just because of behavior and public statements. Biden has been pressuring Israel, tying Israel's hands throughout the war. Whereas Trump's picks for all the important, Secretary of Defense, Secretary of State, National Security Advisor, they have all been extremely staunch about Israel and saying, no, we are not going to withhold weapons. We are going to have Israel's back. Don't worry, we're not going to let Hamas remain in power. So there is reason to trust that. However, the question is, okay, so now that Hamas has been decimated, Hezbollah in Lebanon has been, basically destroyed. Iran's defenses have been weakened severely. The Assad regime in Syria fell. The conditions are riper to make a deal, even though it's a bad deal. And I suspect, and again, this is not from inside knowledge, okay? I need to stress that. I suspect that there's something going on behind the scenes between the Trump appointees and Trump himself and Netanyahu that has to do with Iran, which, after all, is the head of this octopus.
Yeah.
All of these terrorists are proxies of Iran. And, without defeating Iran, the Iranian regime, that is, not the people, you're really not going to solve the problem at all. So I think that it's possible that behind the scenes, Netanyahu is being assured, listen, if you sign this deal, it's a crappy deal and all that. However, the real perpetrator is Iran, and we won't stop you from, bombing its nuclear facilities, taking out the Ayatollahs, perhaps. But the one thing, and America might provide, the right weapons such as bunker busters to do this.
And so, Ruthie, and I know that you're a New York native, but you've obviously lived, you've lived in Israel since maybe the late 70s.
Yes, that's right. I've been in Israel, almost 5 decades. Yes. That's right.
And so for you, this is personal. This is home. Where do you stand on all of this? I mean, on one hand, what was the reaction to when it was January 7th that Trump made that statement, there will be hell to pay. And I agree with you. Even though Trump said Hamas, there's no question in my mind that he was telling Iran, because he's talked about this before, that the way that he was able to control things when he was president was he made sure that they were broke. I mean, that's really, so I know that in Iran, they know he means business. And when he says hell to pay, he knows they know who he's directing that toward. But what was the reaction as you.
Yes, the reaction was elation. Okay, other than from the far left in Israel, all right? But everybody, even those who are not crazy about Netanyahu, Israel is a democracy. There's a lot of political infighting. But other than the far left, Israelis were elated when Trump said that. And first of all, Israel has experience with Trump's first term in office. And he implemented policies one after the other that were fantastic for Israel. And then, which culminated, by the way, in the Abraham Accords, this great peace deal between Israel and the Gulf states. It's amazing. But it wasn't just that. He moved the U.S. embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. He called Jerusalem Israel's capital. He recognized the Golan Heights as a part of Israeli sovereignty. He said we're not using the word settlements in all our documents and, the State Department documents, one after the other. And so when he says something, Israelis believe him. With justification. The only question is then why is he so thrilled with this bad deal? And that's why I go back to saying, why is he thrilled with it? And why was Netanyahu going to agree to it if it sounds as though it'll leave Hamas in power? And that's why the only theory I can come up with is that this is small fry compared to what the real aim is, and that will be to go after Iran.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, he alludes, I know that he had posted on Truth Social, on his Truth Social site, we continue promoting peace through strength throughout the region. He talks about building momentum of, and that's the wording that caught my eye, Ruthie. He said, we build upon momentum of this ceasefire to further expand the historic Abraham Accords. This is only the beginning of great things to come. And so that's, I think, that's what I was wondering how you would read that, because as he looks at it, is he saying this deal is just the beginning as they look at the area and maybe focus in once he's president? He probably can't say a lot right now. That's until he's actually sworn in on the 20th.
Absolutely. Now, but Trump being Trump, he often says things, and I say that again as someone who's supportive of him. Okay, but Trump being Trump, he does speak in hyperbole, and when he says, "Oh, the ceasefire and it's a momentum for peace in the region," actually, strength through peace. One of the best things about the Abraham Accords, this is something that Trump deserves great credit for, is understanding that the road to peace in the Middle East does not pass through the Palestinians, is not contingent upon Palestinian statehood. And he understood that in his gut, I suppose. A lot of what Trump does is intuitive as opposed to intellectual. And that has worked really well. This deal is not a peace deal. Let's face it. Okay, you can't have peace with terrorists who continue to be terrorists and threaten to continue to do what they've been doing. But what you can do is say, yeah, we'll fine and everything, but if you mess up, we're going after you. And anyway, don't think that this means that you're going to be rewarded with statehood when you're a bunch of terrorists. I think that's something that it really needs to be stressed, that the Abraham Accords, Trump always said to the Palestinians, you want to join, you want to jump on this peace bandwagon, you're more than welcome, and we will do anything to help you, help your society. But it's not contingent upon that. If you're not willing to reform and do what it needs to do to make peace, well, too bad. We're going ahead without you. This is a departure from a left-wing view of the Middle East.
And I have two questions for you, and this is just because you are a true insider. Number one, as far as the coverage of, and this is I think embarrassing for America across the nation, Ivy League schools, especially on the West Coast and in New York, when we saw those protests and Jewish students being attacked, anti-Semitic attacks on some of our most prestigious universities, and just some of the rhetoric that was in the media, that is, to me, it's abhorrent, and it was just downright, it was embarrassing for the country. That's just my opinion. But I think that there were many friends of mine who are Jewish Americans who voted for Trump, and they've never voted for a Republican at the top of the ticket before, because they said, I cannot vote at the top of the ticket for an administration that has allowed these anti-Semitic attacks against our kids, our college kids. What was the reaction in where you are in Israel? I mean, did you guys see what was happening on our college campuses, the media coverage, and how does that impact, our friends and many Americans like you living in Israel?
Oh, of course. Israelis were paying very close attention. You see, what was really shocking to everybody, Israelis, and I think all good people of sound mind all over the world, that October 7th, that massacre, rather than opening the world's eyes to what's going on and creating sympathy or empathy for the Jewish state, it had the opposite effect. It unleashed anti-Semitism, the likes of which we haven't seen probably since the Holocaust. Because after the Holocaust, there was a taboo on expressions of open anti-Semitism, even by people maybe who were secretly anti-Semites or many who weren't. The point is, it was not acceptable. And suddenly, the October 7th massacre unleashed open anti-Semitism in the West. I mean, American Jews have always enjoyed, not always, but, certainly in recent history, total freedom from that kind of anti-Semitism. And suddenly, and in Australia and in Britain, all over the West, you were seeing not only anti-Israel rhetoric, which is also anti-Semitic, especially when it's from the river to the sea, which really means annihilate the state of Israel. But not only that, but conspiracy theories about how Jews run the world and own the banks, and blood libels, serious anti-Semitism. Now, what I was going to say is, yes, we noticed that more Jews than previously had voted for Trump and never voted for a Republican. I was actually surprised that still not the majority of Jews did so, which is why I could always understand why Trump was puzzled. Like, why do the Jews, why do they do that? Okay. And I say, I'm with you, buddy. I don't get it myself. Okay. And I'm a Jew and I don't get it.
And the other question I had for you, because you've obviously, the Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, is sometimes the media here, I call them the corporate media, the legacy media, the biased, they will describe Prime Minister Netanyahu as a hard right, a far right leader. And is that, I'll just ask, I'm teeing this up, is that true? Is he considered in Israel this far, far right leader?
Only by Israel's legacy media. We've got ours too, okay? The bulk of the media, that's just the way the media, no, he's not as far right. It is true that the current government in Israel, and he heads that government, happens to have no left-wing parties in it, okay? So it is a right-wing government, but Netanyahu is basically smack in the center. And don't believe, the left will tell you that he's far to the right, but actually he is the majority center, and that's why he has the most amount his party has the most amount of seats. So the point is, it's not true that he's a far right leader. What he is very brilliant politician. Sometimes that's why he's hated so much, because they just can't defeat him at the ballot box. So they try to do it through lawfare, as we saw with President Trump, try to do it by, criminalizing his behavior. They try to do it in every which way. And they have trouble doing it because he's not only a brilliant politician, but he really does represent the majority, secular and religious, Ashkenazi and Mizrahi. In other words, Jews whose origin are from Europe and Jews whose origin are from the Middle East. He represents the greater majority than any other party, and that's why he has the biggest party, even if he weren't heading it, okay? So that's the fact, and the left can't stand it. By the way, the far right also can't always stand, is not always thrilled with it either. And, you see a parallel in America, too. With, there are some MAGA Republicans to the far right of the MAGA spectrum, who themselves are anti-Semitic and who themselves are, the way they hate neocons, the way they attack. Well, in Israel, the far right, there are far right who think that Netanyahu is too weak and too far left. But the media in Israel, and I think the real tragedy is that the American media, and also European, they love to quote Israeli journalists who attack him, because then you see even Israelis say this.
Yes.
But that's the way most of the media behaves.
Well, Ruthie Bloom, thank you so much for being here today. I hope you check out her great podcast, JNS TV. It's Israel Undiplomatic. Hope you come back. What a pleasure just to hear your insights there. And Godspeed. We'll be praying for you and praying that this can come to fruition, to bring these hostages, either bring them home or at least bring closure to their families. Thank you, Ruthie.
Thank you so much.
God bless. Ruthie Bloom. So check it out, Israel Undiplomatic. And you obviously know about JNS TV, but that's her podcast. And yeah, she's, born in New York, an American, but like so many, she moved to Israel and is an award-winning columnist, senior contributing editor, by the way, to JNS. All right, I know I'm way over, Dan, so we'll take a quick break. 855-839-1210. So much news breaking this morning, and we'll bring it all to you.
Clouds will continue to thicken up as an upper-level disturbance will bring some snow showers around this afternoon and evening. A coating is possible in some spots, high up around 33. Cold tonight, mostly cloudy with a low 26 for the city, and a milder day on Friday, becoming mostly sunny with a high near 40.
When you need to know, depend on KYW News Radio 103.9 FM.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says his cabinet will not approve a ceasefire deal until Hamas drops new demands. A new report finds the rate of deaths from cancer has fallen 34% over the last 30 years. And a dozen dogs from our area will participate in this year's Puppy Bowl, including a rescue named Saquon Barkey.
Get the latest anytime on KYW News Radio. Now on Crystal Clear 103.9 FM.
You've never needed us more. You have key decisions to make about your money. Most investors don't beat the market, and neither do the hedge funds, who take a share of your profits. What if there was another way? A way for you to keep total control over your money where the interests were aligned. That's what the exclusive crash-proof retirement system is all about.
Mike Bizzacci of Logan Township, New Jersey. You can't follow the market because nobody can predict it. What you have today could be gone tomorrow. That's the way it works, up and down, and your money goes up and down. That's what led me to see if there was another alternative. Crash-proof retirement gave me that alternative. With Crash-proof retirement, the money you make is credited to your account, and that money's yours. No ifs, ands, or buts. No fees. We had a high point of 13.5%. Once it's credited, it's your money to keep. That's a big deal.
Schedule an appointment or register for our next event at the Copperfield Inn on January 22nd. 800-722-9728 or crashproofretirement.com.
The following heartwarming yet informative scene is brought to you by Trust and Will.
Son, your grandpa and I used to work on this car together, and when I'm gone, I want you to have it.
Wow. Thanks, Dad.
Doesn't count. What you need is a will. Luckily, Trust and Will makes it easy. Designed by attorneys, but customized by you, you can easily create a state-specific, legally valid document that actually counts. Now, let's hear this tiger purr, am I right? Start your will at trustandwill.com. Use offer code COUNT for 10% off and make it count. Trust and Will is an online estate planning service. For details, see trustandwill.com.
Life insurance. Why are you putting it off? Can't afford it? Too much hassle? Think you don't need it? There's lots of excuses for putting off life insurance. But if you weren't there, who would pay the mortgage and other bills? With Ethos, you could be covered in 10 minutes and boom, family protected. Ethos, fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at getethos.com. That's getethos.com.
Kale and Company weekday mornings 6 till 10.
I zipped him too quickly, and he says, I want my damn flag. Ray in Warminster.
You Christmas story Santa Claus me. I'm hurt.
If you can come to the inauguration party that we're having at the Newtown Athletic Club next Monday, we will do the handoff there.
I'm going to do my very best, and I appreciate you guys very much.
You got it. All right. Can I hang up on him? I don't want to. All right.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to drop on. There we go. There he is.
Thanks,
Ray in Warminster, joining us here again.
Start your day with Kale and Company. Weekday mornings 6 till 10 on Talk Radio 1210, WPHT, and the free Odyssey app. Free speech lives here with Kale and Company weekday mornings on Odyssey's #1 talk station, 1210 WPHT.
So much breaking. It's incredible. And there's so much excitement building. Do you feel this ahead of the inauguration? Let me know, first of all, a couple of things. If you watched Biden's farewell last night, I thought the oligarch thing, I know we talked about it earlier on Kale and Company, but I thought that was pathetic. We have a lot of different hearings going on today that I've touched upon, and we'll get to one in a moment. Bernie, he's going after Lee Zeldin, who's testifying at the one of the multiple Senate confirmation hearings. Everybody's going to get confirmed, by the way. I just feel that. And then also, we have to talk about the inaugural events, the balls. Oh, my goodness. And the new official portraits have been released of Donald J. Trump as well as J.D. Vance. And so I know that Dan had captured the Trump official inaugural portrait.
Yeah, youtube.com/@1210WPHT. You can go look right now at what that looks like.
So if you're driving, we'll describe it to
evil.
you. That's okay.
I don't like it.
No, he looks. Here's the thing. Now, here's the thing with Trump. Usually, if you have gone to any of the events, right, where and maybe you were part of one of the many rallies where you got to take your picture with the president. For me, I have a great picture with my polka dot my polka dot skirt. I'll never. And I actually, you know what's ironic? I was wearing this jacket. This jacket is an Ivanka Trump jacket. I wore it for good luck today. But this is because remember she had a clothesline. This is my Ivanka jacket.
Really?
You can see it. Yeah.
An official Ivanka. Wow.
Ivanka had her own clothing line. If you remember this,
is that worth something now?
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's like a suede black with a gold zipper.
You
If
might
you're
be
watching
wearing like
on
an
YouTube.
$8,000 tunic or something.
It wasn't that. It was on sale at the time. But I loved her clothing line. But anyway, that was with Zioli, and Stalker, and we went into the Oval Office. What does he do? He has this great smile, this big smile, usually gives a thumbs up. And so it did surprise me at first, but I get it. Because I would just love to know, what do you think of his official inaugural portrait, his picture? So they do a sitting. What I notice about both of them, I'll just say this. With J.D. Vance, he is there. You don't see, it's not a big toothy grin. It's more of Vance is smiling. He has gorgeous eyes, by the way. They're very pale blue. But he's smiling, but neither of them showing their teeth. Okay? And so, but Trump, 855-839-1210.
Just put Vance up there as well on YouTube.
Put
YouTube.com/@1210WPHT. He looks like AI, though. It doesn't look real. It's way too doctored, in my opinion, I don't know. I'm just not a fan of either of these, to be quite honest.
They're digital photos, though. I don't really...
I always stress relatability, and I think these are the least relatable pictures I've seen of these two, to be quite honest.
So with Vance, I will say that he's not showing his teeth, but he's smiling. With Trump, you know what it reminds me of? It's kind of, if you remember the mugshot photo. Do you remember? It's
It's the exact. Look, I actually.
It's like, but to me, because everything that I call him incoming. Thank God. But everything he does is by design, right? There's no mistake. Why does
it's a direct reference?
Hmm?
Are you saying it's a direct reference?
It's a look of determination. This is because it kind of is mugshotty, but the mugshot one was a look of defiance.
YouTube.com/@1210WPHT.
Tell me what you think.
Got a direct comparison going right now.
If you see it. So there's the mugshot.
Yep.
Similar, but the mugshot was a little more make my day Clint Eastwood, like defiance.
Uh-huh.
To me, there's a teeny weeny bit of a smile in the official inaugural, but to me, this is him saying, I am determined. So he's not ready because he's taking this days before the inaugural. So I think that then we'll see the smile photo, right? That's what's going to happen here.
Yeah.
So he's withholding the smile until he gets in there and starts, the first, getting the job done. Because he's going to be busy. All the promises. I mean, we had on Charlie Strange. You think about all the promises, and that's why, when you heard him, even during the rallies and as we get close, he'd say, not day one, give me a day or give me a week. Remember that? Here's my take, and maybe this is controversial, but I'm just going to give it. 855-839-1210. If you want to comment on what you think of the inaugural photo of Trump. But also, the reason it was important that Trump put out on social media, the hostages are coming home. This is Trump's way. When he says the deal is done, we've got a deal, great news. It's his way of directly speaking to those terrorist organizations. This is his face, right? Look at this face of his inaugural photo. Look in that face, and he's saying, don't bleep with me. Don't with Trump. He's saying, I am determined. Don't defy me, or there will be hell to pay. That's part of what this picture is. And it's not make my day, because to make his day is to just comply. Release the hostages. Do what's right. Let's move forth with the Abraham Accords. The fact that he put that all on social media is very significant. He is sending a direct message to Iran. Let us not forget Trump and the Moab. Trump and the Moab. Remember? When Obama was still president, what were we talking about? Oh, the refugees. Remember Aleppo? Remember on MSNBC? What? Aleppo. And the everybody's talking about refugees. Why were we talking about refugees? Because of the terrorists who were raining terror on civilian populations. What did Trump do? He gave everybody an opportunity. ISIS, right? All the terror. What happened to them? How come you didn't hear about them after Trump got in there? You know why? Because of that face. Look at that face on YouTube. And he's saying to Iran and to all the little terrorist groups who've had their little fun and who thought they had some negotiation power. And he's saying, not on my watch. So the hostages, when he says, great news, the hostages are coming home. Not a third of them, not in 3 waves. That's not what he wrote. He wrote, the hostages are coming home. That's what Trump says. He is sending a direct message to Iran, to all these biggity bigs. Oh, yeah. You know what? You know all your $1 billion status. You know all your mansions you have, not just in the Middle East and Qatar, whatever. Not in Europe. No. You're going to lose it all. You love all your wives and your $1 billion life and your jet set life. Yeah, all that's going down. So now he says the hostages are coming home, right? This is him directly speaking to these terrorists. That's my humble opinion. You can say I'm out there in La La Land, but I'm telling you that's what this is. These hostages, they're coming home or there's hell to pay. That's my take on all of this. All right.
Here's Trump from back in 2015. He was talking about ISIS in this situation, but I think it really underlines your point. Let's make sure. I got to censor this on the fly, though. Take a listen.
Somebody criticized me the other day because they asked me what I do, and I said, I'm going to bomb the out of them. It's true. I don't care.
I don't care. I don't care. And that was 2015. What did he do with that? Remember the Moab? And remember, he trusted his generals, like the good generals, just like there's like a wicked witch of the, and then there's the good witch. The general, there are the good generals, and then there are the generals that he's not going to listen to. So he listened to his generals. We heard the stories from people like Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Remember, she told the stories too. Kayleigh McEnany. We've heard the inside stories. But thank you for finding that, Dan, because that's exactly it. They all know it. And when he put that out there and I saw that on Truth Social, I smiled. And I thought to myself, guess what? I don't care what their little agreement was written up. I don't really. And that's what he wants to say to Bibi. It's a message as well to Netanyahu to say, no. They can put whatever they want, that there's going to be waves. There's no waves. There's no hostages coming home in waves. We want them home now. It's done. It's over, Johnny. That's it.
I also have audio from Trump post-Moab, surrounded by some military officials. Take a listen.
We are so proud of our military, and it was another successful event.
Did you authorize it, sir?
Everybody knows exactly what happened. And what I do is I authorize my military. We have the greatest military in the world, and they've done a job as usual. So we have given them total authorization.
Okay. So this was the mother of all bombs. Remember, it was the spring of 2017. And, there's did you authorize it? It's like he's the commander in chief. And there was a back and forth as to did he authorize it or did he just say, do what you do? Trump gets the job done. That's the bottom line. What happened after that? Does anybody remember? There were 36 of these ISIS militants destroyed. I mean, there was not even like a fingernail to bury, right? I'm sorry to be so graphic, but that, boom, done. You never heard boo from ISIS. What terrorists? What happened to the refugees? They went home. That's what I'm talking about. That's Trump. And so they all know that now that Netanyahu overnight said they already reneged. They're already violating the deal that we struck last night. They're already going back on that. What happens when you go back on a deal under the umbrella of Trump? Just go back to history, 2017. April of 2017, and that's what happens. They all know their fate. And what was the other? The other one was, remember Trump with the Taliban pulls out the picture. I mean, that's some cojones right there. Pulls out the picture. Oh, why do you have a picture of my house? There it is. There's Trump. They all know it. It's done. The hostages are coming home. That's my home. You can disagree. 855-839-1210. All right. I know that we have to take a break. Bernie Sanders, I can't wait to see this exchange. I don't know what he's saying. Bernie, we haven't aired Bernie for a while. Quite frankly, I kind of
irrelevant.
I know. I miss, remember, Zioli with the Bernie, and he does the great Bernie imitation, and Bernie with the mittens. Remember him with the mittens and sitting on the stairs? And remember Hot Tub Bernie? Remember we learned that he had like a list of demands when he travels, and the hotel room has like a hot tub. Like, what? I know. So I kind of miss.
I'm so smart.
So we'll sprinkle in a little Bernie Sanders. He's grandstanding, and this is with Lee Zeldin has to go through this agony. But we continue on. 855-839-1210. Be right back.
Damon John here, the People Shark. I want to share a secret that's changing people's lives. There is a company called National Debt Relief that can help you get out of debt faster than you ever thought possible, like 12 to 48 months from now. With National Debt Relief, you can cut your minimum credit card payments by 50% and pay as little as $250 a month. Imagine, instead of paying multiple high interest payments every month, you can make one low monthly program payment, plus you can get approved in just a few minutes. They've helped hundreds of thousands of people just like you. Trust me when I tell you, National Debt Relief's got your back and can help you get back on track.
To learn how you can reduce your credit card debt and become debt-free, call 800-358-4422. 800-358-4422. Again, that's 800-358-4422.
Don't wait. Apply today.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm. If you own a timeshare, don't miss this public service announcement from Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group.
If you receive an unsolicited phone call or mail piece to discuss selling, renting, or especially canceling your timeshare, don't fall for it. If you really want out of your timeshare, hang the phone up immediately or throw that mail piece in the trash and contact your timeshare resort or Wesley Financial Group for assistance with your timeshare. As the only Inc. 500 timeshare cancellation company, our knowledge, experience, and results has made Wesley a trusted resource for over 40,000 families we've helped get out of their timeshare. Give us a call, and I'll send you our timeshare exit information kit free with the straight facts about your timeshare and all of your options for cancellation.
Call for your free info kit, 800-329-2121. 800-329-2121. 800-329-2121.
As a business owner, you wear a lot of hats. One minute you're ordering today's inventory, and the next you're planning tomorrow's expansion. It's complicated. But your business credit card should be simple. With the Signify Business Cash Card by Wells Fargo, you earn unlimited 2% cash rewards on purchases for your business with no caps or categories to track. Signify Business Cash, the deliberately simple business credit card. Learn more at wellsfargo.com/signify. Terms apply.
Stop buying gold online. Edelman's Coins is the Philadelphia area's largest buyer and seller of gold and silver bullion. Family owned for 99 years, Edelman's Coins has continued to provide ultra-competitive pricing paired with unparalleled customer service. With transparent buy-sell spreads, you know you will always get a fair deal. When buying or selling bullion or coins, think Edelman's Coins. Call 215-572-6480 or visit edelmanscoins.com.
This is Dr. Marianne Ritchie. Tune in to Your Radio Doctor every Saturday afternoon at 5 here on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT for the latest healthcare news and information, because your health is your wealth. That's Your Radio Doctor, Saturdays at 5.
Hair Volume is the best-selling hair tablet in the world and one of the many award-winning natural hair products from New Nordic. Purchase at newnordicusa.com or CVS.
Follow Talk Radio 1210 on Instagram and Facebook at 1210 WPHT.
Oh, it's fashionable to be beating up on China. It's good politics. They are now the major carbon polluter in the world. We have historically had that role. We're now number 2. We're not going to solve this crisis without working with China. Are you and hopefully your colleagues, if you are confirmed, prepared to work with China to try to lower carbon emissions?
You want the answer?
This is Lee Zeldin's answer. Is that it?
No, I got Sanders' question out there because Mr. Pro-China over here takes every opportunity he can to endorse a communist government, it seems
Listen,
like.
I've partied with the commies. They're a lot of fun to drink with. This is me imitating Zioli, imitating Bernie Sanders. But he has a little soft spot for the commies.
It seems like he does. Seems oftentimes. I don't know why.
They're a lot of fun. Trust me.
Yeah, they're
the
really
women are wild.
Here's more from Lee Zeldin's answer to Bernie.
Senator, on many different issues, it is important not just to be working with nations that we are the strongest aligned with, but to also be in communication with and engaged in dialogue with countries that might be considered competitors and also our greatest adversaries. And right now, China is an adversary in many respects.
Solid answer there, Lee.
So Lee Zeldin, I don't know. There's this weird. I don't know whether you feel this or not, but the vibe is we dominate, right? That we won and we won bigly. So just get out of the way. I feel that these hearings are a little bit. They're starting to relax a little bit in the sense that the Democrats know that all these Trump choices are getting in. I think they're going to go after Tulsi hard. I still think his picks get in. It's almost like he is too powerful at this point because he has the power of the people. And I think they're still trying to figure this out.
Yeah, good. Okay.
I kind of admire him. But
this is
Bernie. We haven't heard a lot from him.
No, he's been completely irrelevant recently.
So we have all the Trump nominees, Lee Zeldin, you heard, and the witnesses, the character witnesses for Pam Bondi, they're going today. I mentioned former Governor Burgum, and then as well Besant. So we have, multiple confirmation hearings happening. But Lee Zeldin is important because he would be the lead guy for the EPA. And so they're talking to him about climate change. And that's the big, which is ironic because that's when you think about poor leadership or people who are well-meaning who don't know how to lead. And what does it do? It actually leads to things like environmental disasters.
Mr. Zeldin, 2024, as you know, was the hottest year in recorded history. The past 10 years have been the hottest 10 years on record. We have seen in recent years unprecedented fires in the West Coast and in Canada, and we're seeing the horrific situation in LA right now. We have seen unprecedented flooding in China, displaced millions of people there. Unprecedented drought in Brazil, Africa, and elsewhere. And in Southern Africa, people are dying because of the drought and their inability to grow crops. Billions of people have been sweltering in Europe and elsewhere in unprecedented heat waves. In the midst of all of that, President-elect Trump has said that climate change is a hoax. You will be, if confirmed, one of the leading spokespeople in this country, representing us throughout the entire world. Do you agree with President-elect Trump that climate change is a hoax?
Well, first off, Senator, it was great to meet with you as well. I believe that climate change is real, as I told you. As far as President Trump goes, the context that I've heard him speak about it was with a criticism of policies that have been acted because of climate change, and I think that he's concerned about the economic costs of some policies where there's a debate and a difference of opinion between parties.
I would respectfully disagree with you. I think he has called it a hoax time and time and time again.
I just want to say to you, Senator Sanders, that the climate in America is changing. Yeah, the political climate. Thank God. Because Monday, the greatest president, Donald J. Trump, will be sworn in, and then we'll see a new climate. Things will get done. And the problem that I have with this is that short-sighted policies, like the ones we've seen out west, and that's, by all accounts, you have to look at the reservoir, whoever you want to blame, the reservoir system, as far as it's just a complete failure at the local level, at the municipal level, and even across the West Coast. It just seems to me that they were so worried about their short-sighted plans of being able to say, well, we're doing everything to protect the climate, that they actually put the environment in grave danger. I mean, think about this is catastrophic, these fires. Think about the air quality. You think about all the critters displaced, not to mention the human critters, right? All these different individuals who've lost everything with these fires still burning, the Santa Ana winds kicking up. I will say, and I've talked about climate change before, Elon Musk, who is one of the right-hand people to Trump, he believes in climate change. So I think that as we move forward, we'll talk about climate change. George Carlin always had the best line. He said, yeah, we were a ball of fire. We were a ball of ice as far as the earth. And, maybe you ought to think about your own human preservation. So does the climate change? Of course it does. Are there things that we can do to improve our earth, our planet, clean air, clean water, and just the basic sense of, my dad, I always say, pushing 90. And Dad talks all the time about waste not, want not, right? Why do we have this wasteful attitude? So I just think it's a different philosophy that maybe we can come together on. But they look at this climate change as this religious thing, and then it really is manipulated and manifested into a way to just funnel money to a different group. That's really what it's all about, money and campaigning. Money laundering operation. It's so good to be with you today. I may head over to the Macy's because the one in the beautiful Wanamaker building, they have signs up everywhere. I have girlfriends texting me, you got to get over here. Everything must go.
Ooh.
So
any KitchenAid mixers over there?
Oh my gosh, everything must go.
Macy's want one bad.
So because they're obviously the Macy's is shutting down, and TikTok, it's happening in March that it's a going out of business sale. So Dom, I'll be listening to the Dom show, of course.
Of course.
I'm on the Odyssey
you need
app.
any flip-flops there, Dom?
So.
Yeah. I can't think. I bought Rose earrings there. That was a good sale.
Yeah.
It was the backstage Macy's, which is like a half a Macy's.
Yes.
Well, it's like the clearance section, right?
Yeah.
Allegedly, but
you want to readily admit that you got her?
Yes, it was fine. No, it was no clear. Oh man, if that's a clearance, no, it's one of those where they say it's 1,000 with 94% off.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So I want to talk about Mike Waltz, who I really know him a bit. He was on Fox and Friends today, and he says, "Oh no, TikTok's not going anywhere. I thought we had this settled, Dawn." And there's actually odds out there of what will happen with TikTok. We'll get to that.
We look forward to a great Dom show just ahead.
If you have unfiled taxes or are in debt to the IRS, this is important news. Did you